It's Carl Kennedy from The Rods, and you're watching Aftershocks TV.
All right, so let's get to our last segment of this week, the last question. This is obviously comes off the heels of what we were talking about a little bit last week. I think, we were talking about Paul Di'Anno, right? About his train wreck, what happened in Australia. And it got me thinking, I was thinking to myself, because, we obviously we see a lot of bands who keep their singers or just artists themselves that go out there and they sing their old songs, a la, say, Don Dokken, okay? And I'm not trying to dump on Don Dokken, but Vince Neil's the same way. Right? These are guys that can't really sing anymore. I mean, there's no hiding. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, there's videos out there. Go check it out, right? These guys just don't have their voice the way they used to. So I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of bands that sometimes might do away with the singer, even if it's the original singer, because they can't sing anymore, and they'll bring in a new singer who's got the chops to handle those songs. But what would you rather see a band now with their original or their most notable, I should say, or most recent vocalist, that's the vocalist of the hits that they're known for, even though he or she can no longer sing, would you rather have that, or would you rather see them with a different vocalist who can do the song a bit more justice? All right, go ahead, Tom.
That was a tough one, because there's a couple of ways in my stupid head to answer this, right? And here's how I look at it. If I use a band as an example, and so I'm going to give you 3 bands as examples. In the interest of time, we'll keep it snappy. So Foreigner, right? So Foreigner right now are on their farewell tour. And there's no original members. We get that. Mick Jones comes out for, the odd. And I actually saw Foreigner probably 5 years ago in New Jersey, and I was lucky enough to be there for one of the Mick Jones gigs. He came out and played a couple of tracks, and it was great to see him, check the box, saw him. So if you're going to give me a choice of seeing Foreigner with Lou Gramm, which is not, he's not bad. I saw a clip recently on the Classic Metal Show with Chris Anili talking about that. And whilst he's there, he's not quite there, and he's off key, and he's older, and he had health problems again. Right? I'm not going to get down that avenue. Or would I rather see him with Kelly Hansen? Is that his name? See, my brain just goes sometimes. Yes, Kelly Hansen. I would rather see Kelly Hansen, because he can do the songs total justice. He's better singer than what Lou Gramm is today. So that was for me. Now, let me just flip this around a little bit. I'll do 2 more. Whitesnake. So would I rather see Whitesnake with David Coverdale kind of being able to do it, but not really, or with Dino Jalusek, who's been touted as the new David Coverdale, because he does actually sound similar to him? I'd rather see David Coverdale there, because they cannot be a Whitesnake without him. So that's the other side of it. And then lastly, then I'll jump with just Queensryche. So Queensryche, obviously, with Jeff Tate for 1,000 years, and then Todd La Torre. I would rather see Queensryche with Todd La Torre, because even though Jeff can still hold the songs, he's not where he was. And Todd La Torre can do no wrong in my book, because he's got the chops. He's, he should just stop on the everything outside of music. I'll leave it at that. But his solo album is phenomenal, and I think his last is phenomenal, right?
It is very good.
Last 4 albums, particularly the new one came out a year ago or so, is absolutely phenomenal. So if you gave me an option of going to see Queensryche, so we spoke about Foreigner, Whitesnake, Queensryche with Todd or with Jeff, I'd pick Todd all day long, singing the Jeff songs.
It's interesting. I had that one down myself, and that was one that it's funny because Todd really does such a good job.
He does, yep.
He really is. He's really a great singer. They couldn't have picked a better replacement for.
And he sounds like Jeff. I mean, it's like
he does. He sounds enough like him, yet he also still sounds like him a little bit. That was a tough one. Something like that would be like, oh yeah, it's a throw. I mean, I would prefer. I'm not gonna lie. I would probably still prefer Jeff Tate, because he could still do it, and he's still the original guy. But you're right. I think it really depends on the band. I don't think you could just say, I'd rather have the original for all of them, or I'd rather have the replacements, right? And I'll bring up a couple examples. Obviously, one, Journey, right? Now, would you rather see Steve? Now, Steve Perry, there's a reason you don't see him out there playing live, because he can't obviously hit those high notes. I mean, there's no way. And he's the type of guy that would rather, I guess, not sing live than to go out there and still try to do it. Obviously, you've got Arnell, He could do it all day long. He sounds just like Steve Perry.
I saw him doing it. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I would rather see probably Arnell than I would hate to see Steve Perry go out there and hear a choppy voice.
And butcher.
I'd rather and butcher, exactly. I'd rather hear Arnell. Now, one of the bands that, for me it's interesting is obviously Fear Factory. So Fear Factory is, one of my favorite bands of all time. I mean, not just my favorite bands, but the singer Burton Bell is my all-time favorite vocalist. And the thing about him, now here's the thing. He, in all honesty, even though he's my all-time favorite vocalist, he hasn't been able to play, like really do those songs, a good job on those songs live in a long time. Now, I know they've got this new singer, Milo, who I was supposed to see on their first show ever, which was supposed to be up here until Dino Cazares fucked that all up, and which is why I'm kind of not really supporting Fear Factory anymore, because that was just a complete shit show. But I would rather, even though Milo he does a good job, really emulating Burton Bell's voice. He does a great job, almost sounds just like him.
Sure.
I would still rather Burton. Now, reason being, I think it just depends really, it's probably why a lot of people still want to go see Dockett, even though he has, he's lost his voice, or still see Vince Neil. I just can't really picture Fear Factory without him. Even if it's not the same, like I said, even though I know he can't do a great job. Same thing, you have a voice like that, you're not going to be able to sing like that into your 50s. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but I would still rather see Burton than Milo, because it's Burton. I mean, and he's going to do solo stuff, Burton, and he's going to sing all those Fear Factory songs. I mean, that's the bottom line. So I'm going to go see him for sure when he plays, because I do like
So would you not, if Fear Factory came to town, would you not go and see them based on what you said?
Yeah, they played it here the other day, or they're playing soon, or is it this week or next week with Machine Head? I'm not going.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought about it, but like I said, I would have. I was very open. This has nothing to do with the sing. I was very open to go. I had to take. I was my buddy Eric Kluber, who was playing for one of the bands opening for them, Society One, got me on the guest list and all ready to go. I had buddies that were all going to go. We're like, we're going to be open minded. We're going to give it a shot, and we want to see it. And then there was here in California. And it was bad weather. It was about a year ago from now, last February. It was a Static X tour, and all these other bands were coming from LA. They all made it up here, and for some reason, Fear Factory waited to the last fucking second to come up, and they took the wrong way. They went over what's called the Grapevine here when you go to LA to San Francisco. It's just a big mountain, and when it rains on a cold day, yes, it snows up there, and so these guys went right into the heart of the freaking storm like idiots instead of going on a different freeway. I mean, they've toured up here a million times. Everyone knows you don't go with rain on the Grape. They close it off. And so they got stuck in it. It got closed off, and they didn't make the show. And they were the only band that didn't make it. Static X is from LA. They made it. So, and it wasn't just that. It was the way Dino did it online, smiling in a picture when all of us. Now, I lost my ride. I couldn't go there. I wasn't going to spend, $100 Uber back and forth to San Francisco to see Static X. Even though my buddy's band was playing, I wasn't going to see Static X. I'm not a Static X fan. I have three other people that had tickets that because of that didn't go. And it was just the way it was done. It was real shitty what he did to the fans. Didn't make it up. Didn't whatever. It was supposed to be the first show at Milo. The press was all here and everything. Totally botched it. And just the way he handled it, I'm never supporting that band again. So that's just
all right.
Because Burton's not there anymore either, and I just don't like the way he does his business. And so I've decided not to support them. So so they are playing up here, but I'm not going to see them. But I was open to it at first. I really was. But
all right.
I am open to see bands with different singers. I mean, I have gotten in the past. I would have been like, nah, it's not the same. Blah blah blah. I've got a very open mind. There's a lot of times the band becomes better with a new singer. So you have to, I think that way.
But I think too. I mean, everybody wants the original lineup. I get it. We're all fans, as we spoke about, right? We want the original lineup. But then, and if you say, "Well, I'm not going to see them," and that's everybody's personal opinion. Like people would say, there's a fake Judas Priest out there right now, and there's an argument between the band members, and so on and so forth. With obviously with Glenn Tempted being sick, and
KK no longer there. Yeah,
KK no longer there, and Andy Sneap is jumping in and out. Whatever's going on. But if I went to see Priest a couple of years ago and they played with Saxon and I think it was Black Star Riders, if I'm not mistaken. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I still saw Judas Priest. I didn't see the classic Judas Priest, but I'm never going to see that again. So do I stop going to concerts because I even went to see Foreigner with nobody there, the original members. And it was a pissy rainy night on the PNC Arts Center in New Jersey. You know what that is in Homedale.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So I was sitting in there. I was as wet as can be, drunk as can be, had a great with a couple of my buddies. You get to the point where you can't get any wetter, you just don't care, right? So we took the ponchos off,
drink and just have fun,
drinking, drunk, just dancing around, being idiots and goofing off, whatever. So did I see? If someone says, "Do you ever see Foreigner?" I go, "Yeah, I did." So I don't say, "Well, I kind of did," but it was the fake Foreigner. Well, the original member, but Mick Jones came out for 2 songs. I don't care. I went to see Rat a couple of years ago, and it was Stephen Piercy, and I think Warren Cochere was there, and Warren DeMartini was not there. Obviously, Bobby Blotzer was not there. Did I see Rat? Yeah, I did. Would I prefer to see the original? Yes, I didn't. So whatever. So, but if you take a principal point going, I'm not going to see it because there's not 2/3 of the originals. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But I don't subscribe to that because if it's a good night out for me and there's a couple of beers involved and there's a band I haven't seen before, I'm going and check the box. I saw them. My ticket stub says whatever it says, and that's the band I saw. That's how.
Would you have done the same for Bobby Blotzer's Rat?
No.
Okay.
It absolutely would not have.
And that, well, because it probably comes down to one thing, and that's the vocalist, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't listen to Rat if it's not Stephen Piercy. If he's still around and he's doing his own version of Rat, it's like the L.A. Guns. Would you go see L.A. Guns, Stephen Riley's version? No,
I wouldn't.
Exactly, right?
No, I wouldn't. Yeah,
because it's not Phil Lewis, it's not Tracy, right? So
I'm not a big fan of LA Guns anyway, so I probably wouldn't go and see them either way. But nonetheless, they're okay. I mean, they're fine. Their last few releases have been pretty solid, to be honest. But it's an interesting. But you had another band, Matt. Did you say you wanted to touch on? You said Journey. Did you have another one?
Well, what I was going to say was like.
You had Fear Factory. Sorry, Fear Factory.
Right, Fear Factory. But I also wanted to say, a lot of times too. Because everyone thinks of original singers, right? If it's not the original singer, but then you've got bands like, say, Iron Maiden, as we've just seen with Paul Di'Anno, right? Or even a band like Faith No More. These are bands now where their second vocalist is when the band took off. I mean, Iron Maiden was still. I mean, obviously they were big with Di'Anno, but they really didn't take off to the stratosphere until they got Dickinson, and Faith No More was the same way until they got Mike Patton. I mean, so it's interesting. Like, I wouldn't go see, so Faith No More is a great example. I saw, before their original singer had passed, I did see, it was still this day, I'm one of the luckiest people because I'm a huge Faith No More fan, and they played, they announced it the day of the show, and it was at this, the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco.
Right.
It was supposed to be the original singer, this guy, Chuck Mosley.
I remember.
Remember him? He was supposed to just play like a solo show there, and then they announced the day of that it was going to be an actual. The Faith No More guys were going to play. They were going to play those original songs. So of course, me and a friend of mine, she was just like, I was like, I got to go to this. And so normally I wouldn't just go on a whim like that, but once I saw it, I'm like, I'm up, I'm out, I got to go. And I'm glad I did. I got video of it. I'm just so glad because as a huge Faith No More fan, and he passed away a couple of months later too. Chuck.
You saw it. Yeah.
So, but I'm glad I saw it. But yeah, I wouldn't see him singing Mike Patton's songs, just like you wouldn't see Paul Di'Anno probably singing, obviously, Bruce Dickinson's songs, because they can't. You know what I mean? They just can't. But it's just one of. I guess it's just like I said. There's no. I mean, it's everybody's picky like that. Everyone's got their tastes and what they were willing to go see and not see in terms of vocalists. But
Matt, but that's a great subject matter, though. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest one is obviously Van Halen and Van Hagar. We don't need to delve into that. That's a big one. Deep Purple, Ian Gillan to David Coverdale. I mean, some people prefer, Burn, Stormbringer, Come Taste the Band, then Machine Head, Fireball, Who Do You Think We Are, and In Rock, I think, if my sequence is correct. Which I listened to yesterday. I listened to all In Rock start to finish. And the start of In Rock, you had like the Hammond organ, like John Lord doing his thing. And then you that fucking album for it's 54 years old.
Wow.
That album is just unbelievable. And Child in Time and obviously Ian Gillan's vocals. But even, I mean, that's like Black Sabbath went from, like, I read a lot of interviews with people who prefer Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules than the Ozzy years, simply because they jumped into Sabbath at that point. So that was their Sabbath. And they, obviously, if they went back to Never Say Die, they went, well, there's no comparison to Technique. Even there's some good tracks on there. Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die are arguably our weaker albums, in my opinion, in the few albums. So there's lots of those bands in there that's like, obviously we spoke about Queensryche with Jeff Tate and Todd La Torre. There's a lot of bands in there that, you know, they got better, that's, you know, personal, you know, experience and who you like and who you don't like. But I tend to work with the band, and if the songs are good enough, then I'll run with the new singer. If they're not good at, like, take Van Halen 3 as an example, Gary Sharon. That album is an abomination.
Yeah.
It's and you ever go back on an album like after a few years and you go, maybe it's not as bad as I remember it, and you put it on with an open mind.
No, it's bad.
You go, fuck that.
You're like, no, there's a reason why I haven't listened to this in 20 years.
Yeah, it's the same with Sin Anger, Metallica. I gave that a shot a couple of years ago and said, no.
So did I. I give that a shot within this last year, and I'm like, man, I can't. No.
Well, it could be worse. It could be Lulu, so go figure.
Yeah, well, let's not even get to that. Yeah, I know.
No,
oh man, that's a whole nother ball game there. But yeah, no, you're right, man. Yeah, so it's like you said, it really, I guess, depends on the situation. You know, it's all individual situations. You know what I mean?
It does, my friend.
But I do normally prefer the singer with who's had the hits. I mean, that's usually what I. It's very rare that I'm into the singer that's the obscure singer, the one that, you know, isn't maybe as big as, you know, that was past their prime or whatever you want to call it. You know, I like I said, all the bands have different mocks of different, like you said, different. I mean, Sabbath and Purple. I mean, that's so many different singers.
I mean,
Rainbow,
exactly. Like Rainbow with Dio, and obviously, like, and you know, Hughes, Rainbow Rising is Glenn Hughes, of course, but Rainbow is you know, and arguably a band like with Rising and Long of Rock and Roll from mine are just two of the best albums ever recorded. And then they went to Graham Bonnet, which Down to Earth is a good album, and then they you know, jumped around there then with Joel and Turner for a couple of years, and then Doogie White jumped in for a bit and whatever. But that began Richie Blackmore with Rainbow just ran out of ideas. He had nothing else to add. It was the same riffs over and over. And you know, I'm a Rainbow fan, but I really am. I love Rainbow, but you know, but then there's other bands where you just can't imagine them. You can't imagine Whitesnake without Leopard. You can't imagine Thin Lizzy without, you know, Phil Lynott. There's some bands you just can't go there. It's just unthinkable. You know,
well, that's kind of like Fear Factory for me without Burton Bell. I can't. I just can't see it. Can't see it. So it's. I was willing, like I said, I was willing open minded, and I'll listen to it when they finally, you know, they were supposed to cut. That was the whole thing. They were supposed to release a song before they played the show, and that was another lie from Dino. The guy's just, you know, I want to get into him because.
But didn't Dino also talk about the possibility of a female vocalist for a while? Didn't that come up or something like that?
It was thrown out there. I think that was just more for PC reasons, if you ask me.
Okay.
I mean, you can't replace Burton with a female singer. You just can't do it.
And you know what could happen? Obviously, there's bad blood there, but what could happen is when if the albums don't sell anyway, but if the tours are not doing too well on either side, then you know, obviously management might say it's like what happened with Maiden and when they got Blazing. Like those two albums are awful. Odd Track is in there, but they're awful. And Blaze's solo stuff, recent stuff, is actually quite good. His new song is really good. So his solo stuff is quite good. It just didn't work for Maiden.
Yeah.
But there's a prime example of Maiden started playing clubs. You know, Dickinson was obviously doing his solo stuff and whatever. And Dickinson's solo stuff is solid and is good. But Rod Smallwood brought them together and said, guys, this is a shit show. We need to be playing arenas again. And we know what happened after. Maiden are probably bigger now than they ever were.
Oh, sure.
But there's another example of it when it didn't work out, as opposed to some bands like Van Hager. You know, this, I don't know which camp people are in, but, you know, Sammy Hager says that he's bigger than David Lee Roth. And then you read some stats saying, well, that didn't happen. I have no idea. I personally couldn't give a shit. But sometimes it works. You know, works tremendously well. Other times it's like you can't touch it.
Well, those are just two massive egos going at it. That's all that comes down to.
I love, first of all, at Van Halen, adore. Van Hager, adore. I can listen to both at any given. I could listen to the entire Van Halen catalog from start to finish and just not get fed up off it. They're just one of those bands where just timeless forever. Look at the first Van Halen album, 1978.
Yes,
and that could be, like, obviously Ted Templeman produced, but that could literally be released today. today it could be released and be a hit
sure.
song, hit album.
Well, those to me are the special bands, because it doesn't matter who you get as a singer. It's going to be, it's more about, and they also, a lot of those bands, I think very wisely, whether it was Black Sabbath or Van Halen or whatever, they changed things up a bit to fit, the singer a little bit more. They didn't just continue to do the same thing and just put a different voice over it. And so I think that's an important thing to do too. If you're just going to come, I think with metal bands, extreme metal or something, if someone's just using harsh vocals and stuff, okay, not a big deal. You can do the same thing, But if you're just a rock band, you got a lot of melody and so forth, like Van Halen did, yeah, you've got to, they had to change things up because,
I agree.
I mean, if your front man doesn't have the same vocal range, well, then maybe you got to simplify things. Or vice versa, whatever it is. I think what they do with Sammy Hagar, obviously David Lee Roth was never really a great voice, more of a great front man, where Sammy Hagar obviously was both.
Sure.
And so I think they were able to, go to, like I said, they couldn't do songs like Dreams and so forth, or those kind of real eclectic songs with David Lee Roth. They just wouldn't be able to do it. It wouldn't have sounded good. So,
no, but look, this is a great future. We're probably eating into a new segment we could have done. But same with with Priest, with Ripper, those albums he did. So, it's just one of those things where they just tried out for a while, play at smaller clubs, and then management gets involved, offered people some money to either leave or go, and then it takes off from there. But then you can imagine Priest today with Ripper. I don't think that they would have any. They're like their success today, even though Priest are not playing arenas, and if they are, they're not. I don't think they are. They're not selling out 20,000 seats, and probably 6 or 7, maybe 10,000 seat if they're lucky. I would say.
They're lucky. They're doing, at least out here. I know they're doing mostly big clubs. The large clubs. They're not even doing arenas. So unless they're open and they have a good package tour. But if it's just them and an average, a decent sized band, they're going to do. The big.
But the new Priest song so far, 4 tracks out, 5, whatever it is, and solid. Looking forward to it. So I'm a Priest fan, so bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're good for today, Tom. I think that's a wrap for this week. Anything else we want to say before we wrap this week's segment up here?
No, just another good week. This is again. I have my sequence of events here. We probably touched on 50% of it, as we always do.
I know. Yeah,
we can carry in a few. We can carry in a few segments for next week and see where we go from there. But this has been a good one, Matt. Looking forward to doing it all over.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everyone, make sure you go, as always, go check us out, AfterShocksTV.com, CMSNetwork.com as well. You can check us out on all, YouTube, Rumble. We're on social media. Go keep up with us. And please, everyone, one thing I wanted to say, and it was, we did get a comment about the Paul Di'Anno thing. We always want to, people, they reach out to us. I want to bring it up on the show.
Yeah.
There was someone who posted something about that they went to see Paul Di'Anno at that show we talked about in Australia, and said, yes, that the bar was very small. It was a small bar, and he said that he was excited, but he felt that, yes, it was $60 for that show.
Ooh.
$60, and he said he felt he got ripped off. And he felt he got ripped off.
Well, I appreciate the comment, and it's good to see that we're reaching that far. A lot of Aussies love their metal. I've been to Australia many, many times over the years. So great country, great people. So we appreciate those comments, and we're growing this, and the interaction is important. So I'll jump on YouTube and say hey to a few people on there too. So it's all good, man. And if anybody has any ideas for segments or topics, because we don't do the politics, we don't go there. No. We just take rock and metal and shoot the shit. So if there's something you want us to discuss, let us know. We'd be happy to take a look at it if it's appropriate and it fits. Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, we'll do our best to give it justice and not bore you to death. And like Tom said earlier in the show here, we can talk about anything for a long time. So
I could keep for 2 more hours. And
exactly.
And just bring something into my head and just pick a band and run. So
exactly. Exactly. All right, Tom. We'll see you next week. And to our audience out there, thanks to everyone again for listening and watching. As always, to Aftershocks TV, and we'll see everyone next week. Take care.